Don't Be Alone with Jay Cogan is brought to you by Prime Video, presenting Fallout from Westworld director Jonathan Nolan and starring Walton Goggins, Ella Purnell, and Aaron Moten. The Guardian gives it 5 stars, a brilliant adaptation. It's funny, self-aware, and tense, an astonishing balancing act. Fallout is Emmy eligible and available for TV Academy members at consideramazon.com.
Hey, Conan O'Brien here. And guess what? I'm a guest on Don't Be Alone with Jay Cogan. My good friend Jay Cogan's desperate cry for help. He's monetized it. You're a genius. Check it out.
Don't be alone with Jay Cogan.
Hi there, welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jay Cogan, a podcast where I encourage people to not be alone, to get together, to talk to people. So I talk to people, and the thing I do is I tell people my issues, and they help me solve them. So thanks for joining me on this episode. We have a spectacular guest. As always, every episode is spectacular, and this is just one of the many spectacular shows. An old friend of mine and somebody who is very popular in the podcast circuit, Conan O'Brien, is our guest, and he'll be here to tell me why people are sick of my shit. The issue that we'll be talking about is I do a lot of jokes. I do them on the show, kind of, but I don't do them all the time. In real life, I do them all the time. Like if somebody dies who's a close family friend, there's probably about 10 seconds between the time I hear they're dead and I'm sad, and then about 10 seconds later, I'm making a joke about them. So not everything should be fodder for jokes, right? There should be room for true emotions, for real feelings, and there's some people, I am one of them, who covers the world with jokes instead of their own true feelings, and also thinks it's funny to have more jokes in the world. Conan is one of those people who shares a lot of that with me. And so we're going to talk about when it's appropriate to joke and when it's appropriate not to joke. When should we turn it off a little bit? And so we'll talk about that right after this. But first, I want you to subscribe to this show on whatever you're listening to, and then go to YouTube and subscribe to it there. Every time you subscribe, I make $1 million. And every time you subscribe on YouTube, I make $4 million. So really, I have a very expensive lifestyle. And if you don't do it, it's actually really trouble for me. So I need you to do that. Literally, not joking. Please subscribe on YouTube. And we'll be right back with the great Conan O'Brien.
Don't be alone with Jay Cogan.
3, 2.
Hi, Conan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It's very nice. Thanks for having me.
Any excuse to see you. Now, the only excuse is you have to now do a show, podcast.
Yes. The only people I talk to
are guests on your podcast.
Yeah.
Are Norwegian fishermen and yeah.
I'm not talking to my children until they get podcasts. I haven't talked to them in 6 years.
That's fair. Beckett is about to enter the world of college, right?
Yes.
Has he? Without saying
No. He's figuring it out.
Okay.
He's got another week, I think, to decide.
All right.
And he's got some good choices, or the military. Okay. So, and I'm opting for that because it's much cheaper.
All right.
And I think he should do his part because I didn't do my part.
I think America should make you pay for his military service.
Yeah, I think I do, actually. Yeah, we all do.
It'd be good. I recently saw your Conan O'Brien Must Go. It's great.
Thank you. The idea was do a podcast like this one where I talk to somebody, usually someone in the business. And then we decided to start doing one where I talk to just people around the world that want to call in. So I started to really enjoy that. And then I thought, well, if I'm doing that, every now and then one of them would say, hey, if you're ever in Bergen, Norway, stop by. And that gave me the idea that I love travel. I've done a bunch of travel shows over the years. So maybe there's a hybrid here.
I think I heard the original interview with the guy whose buddy was guard seaman.
Yes.
Like a year ago or years ago.
Yes, and this would have come out sooner, but for the writer's strike. So that paused everything for a while, and I think all told maybe stalled this about 6 months.
Okay.
But we shot the first 2, and then the writer's strike occurred, and then we had to gear back up again after the writer's strike to go finish it. So, but all told, I think, maybe it was about a year between when I think it was a year ago that I was talking to some of these people, or maybe a little more than that.
Well, it seemed fresh. It seemed evergreen.
Yes.
It did not seem dated in any way, shape, or form.
Right. We try to keep it. I mean, I don't know. Probably like you, I've always been drawn to comedy. It's just my nature, but I just like silliness that doesn't need a reference point.
Right. I get it.
So, it's funny because you invited me on the podcast and I was thinking, you and I have a long history together.
Correct. Yes.
Lovers, but then even
Right.
before that, I was thinking about, and I want your listeners to know what a genuinely nice person you are. I show up at the Simpsons in, I think, 1990 or 91. I show up in the Simpsons. And what I didn't know, because I came from SNL, I had just been at Saturday Night Live, and at Saturday Night Live and at my gig before that, not necessarily the news, you wrote everything on legal pads,
Right.
and then maybe typed it up. I showed up at The Simpsons, and you guys are all on
Computers.
PCs.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about that. I'd never had one
Right.
before.
Right.
And
Because Boston, Massachusetts has no idea about computers.
there's no
Harvard had no clue that there were computers.
There's no, it's funny because I graduated college in 1985, and I remembered some of my friends getting the early Macintoshes or whatever, but I didn't have one of those.
Sure.
And so senior year, I had to write a thesis, like a 90-page thesis. And so I went and used a word processor that was the size of a refrigerator.
Right.
And it was in a room in Mather House, and it was chained to the wall as if anyone could steal it, because
Right.
it weighed about 6 tons. And you'd pull your chair up to it, and you'd feed quarters into it.
Really?
And it would give you 20 minutes or 25 minutes, and you'd start trying to work on your thesis. And it actually helped me because there was no time to just stare at the screen.
Time was money. Time is money.
Yeah, go, literally. And I had a
Right.
sack of quarters,
Right.
and I would have, and then when you started to run out of time, it would go, and you'd have to feed more quarters. And so that was my only experience.
And the thesis was on the history of the quarter. So
on
that
the quarter,
helped.
yes, and where to procure them.
Yeah.
So I show up at The Simpsons, and I don't know. And Al, our boss at the time, Al Jean, said, "Well, just bring it. Where's your computer?" And you just set it up here. And I said, "Computer." I didn't know anything, and I was stymied. What I remember very clearly is that it was raining all the time when I showed up, and you said, "Hi, Jay Kogan here. I'm a writer here on The Simpsons." I recognized the name from the show. I was like, "Oh, really cool to meet you." And you said, "I can help you."
Oh, I did.
And you took me out and showed me, like, this is what you should get. I think this is good, and this is a good screen. What I remember is that it just had one, it was amber, and that was
yes,
it.
that's right. One color.
Yeah, one color, and I thought, I like amber. And you're like, Conan, you can get whatever you like. Always very nice.
Well, not whatever you like. Green or amber, I think were the two choices.
Yeah, green or
back
amber.
then.
And
Yeah.
so and then you helped me set it up and taught me, like, you write your script here, and then this is how you print it out with your printer, and you saved me because I don't think I didn't know how to do that.
I saw a lost little lamb, I think, was what happened. And
But then you saw me.
Yes, and then I figured,
You're always being
I could help
distracted by
exactly.
farm animals.
Beautiful, beautiful farm animals.
Look at that lamb.
Oh my God.
Jay, I'm over here. I need the computer.
No. I want to see that lamb. I remember getting you a computer, and I remember you being a little bit out of sorts,
nervous
at the beginning, and which leads me, this show, Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan. I'm sure you're very well aware.
I am,
You're
yeah.
listening to every episode.
I haven't heard all of them.
Okay,
But I thought
sure.
your one with Sammy Kahn was amazing.
Fantastic. Sammy Kahn. Charlie Kogan says Sammy Kahn is a distant relative of mine.
I made that assumption.
Yeah, but it is about me asking interesting people to help me to solve my problems.
Okay.
And
What a selfish endeavor.
It is true.
Today, it's the HVAC system.
Exactly. No, it's this. When we were at The Simpsons, I was the sort of loud, annoying joker guy in the room, or one of them. And it was made. I think everybody would say I was the one who's sort of making more room jokes, making more bits, doing a lot of stuff like that. Shtick. Then you came along,
Right.
and you were me times 2. Like you had more energy, you plowed more effort and energy into the room bits than even I could think of.
With a desperation born of something.
Yeah, no, it was the same. I think it's the same reason I did it, which was A, it's our superpower. It's something that we got a lot of good attention for over the years. And B, nervous, and we're not sure how talented we are. And maybe this other thing, maybe we keep them laughing here, they won't notice that we're bad writers over here, that kind of thing.
Exactly. I don't think I was doing shtick out of nerves. Again, I'm going to quote my father, who is a scientist, and he told me many years ago, and he wasn't kidding. He said, Conan, I understand now you're making your living off of something that probably should be treated. And he wasn't doing a bit.
Okay.
And I said, I love you too.
Wow. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, we haven't spoken since.
So he could not possibly see humor as a gift or as something, as an art form even.
No, I think he does think that humor is a gift. Yes, he thinks humor is a gift, but I think he saw this kind of nonstop energy I have, and this need I'm constantly on. I mean, my assistant David is with me today, and I always like to have witnesses because they'll affirm that I'm not on when I'm on a podcast or when I'm doing an appearance on a show or I'm in a writer's room and it's time to write. If we went to the Winchell's Donuts, which I can see across the street, I'd be working, and that's a plug, by the way, if you want to Winchell's. But we'll be
talking about commercials in a second.
Okay, but they're open 24 hours, and that's a fine donut. But I would be asking the person behind the counter, what's your deal? Where are you from? Maybe getting something going, and if we can get a funny riff going, that is as valuable to me as anything I'm going to do.
That's a gift. That's a thing.
I'm aware when the stuff I'm doing is coming from a place of joy. It's just making me happy. Yeah. And mostly I like having a connection. Yeah. So I really do like to be funny with people, and I like them to be part of it. I like, that's why I always love so much about improv. It's why I love being in a writer's room, is there's this give and take. I think the danger comes in if you realize you've been the only one talking for a while. Right. I do think I try to keep an antenna up for that, which is I don't want to be an annoyance to other people.
But you're a very connected person when we're not joking.
Right.
Which is very nice. And I think that's a part of you I didn't discover until a few years into our friendship.
You never gave me a chance. I mean, for all those times in the early 90s, I was begging you for a real connection.
No, it wasn't
and you were
a
like,
joke.
connection.
Right.
What are you, a telephone operator? Zing, 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 zing. Remember you had all the, you had a big trunk of props?
Props and costumes, yes, I know.
You were Gallagher 3.
I still have those. I guess I wasn't hearing it, but now after a while I got to hear, and we actually had conversations where not everything was a joke, and that was refreshing.
You know, it is very nice to do that with people. I will admit there are people I can't do it with. And one of them is Jack McBrayer. Yes. And Jack McBrayer started out doing, he was a very funny improviser. And then he came to New York and he did bits on my late night show and was always hilarious. And then he gets cast on 30 Rock as Kenneth the Page. And so I have never in my life sat down and had a real conversation with Jack
Don't
McBrayer.
Don't do it.
No.
He's horrible inside.
Yeah, he might be.
Yeah, he's so nice on the exterior. He must be evil inside.
But I get into this shtick with him where I'm the overbearing city slicker.
Right.
And he's the, sir, how dare you? And I'm explaining that an elevator, now Jack, Jack, it's not a magical room. It's just a box that moves from, sir, I am very aware of what an elevator is, sir. And I just love, I blame him.
Sure.
Because he's so much fun to do it with.
Right.
That I'm convinced that if one of us had a profound loss in our lives, and something terrible happened, and I showed up, within seconds.
You jump right into it.
We'd be jumping.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I'm sorry, is your donkey near? Right. Sir, I drive a Prius. I do not have a donkey. But
maybe you need those moments when you have a tragic loss. Maybe humor helps in those moments. Now, do you ever suffer? Well, two questions. One is, you're the boss of a big company and have been for 30 years.
Yep.
And I know you like to play.
Yes. Sometimes
you don't get to play with your employees the same way you play with people because they're employees and their feelings could get hurt and they're,
Well, I like to work with people who can make fun of me. I'd like that to be the environment. And so right now at Team Coco operations, not far from this building, where we make the different podcasts and where we edit the.
Wait a second, you do a podcast?
Is
it like mine?
It's like yours.
Okay.
And it's getting there.
Okay, great.
But it's growing. It's slowly growing. We also do the production there for Conan O'Brien Must Go and other different projects we have. So it's this nice little Pee-wee's Playhouse hive of activity. And one of the people who works for me is this young woman, very cool, named Sam Curry, and what I love is that she doesn't give it up for me. So I'll do something and everyone in the room is laughing and I'll look over and she's stoning me and she just shakes her head and I'll go, Sam, come on, that was pretty good. And she'll be like, nope, not having it. And I'll say, come on, Sam. And she'll say, and she's really funny at it. And I think it's a combination of sometimes she might even find it's funny, but she knows her shtick with me is I'm never giving it up to this person.
You found a playmate there. You've got somebody who's willing to play along. Sona is willing to play along. You can knock trays out of her hand and she's willing to play along, or she used to be before she became a big star.
Yeah, but the funny thing about Sona is she'll always, from day one, she was very comfortable saying, what the fuck? What would you do? You just knocked my cookie out of my hand. And I'll say yes, because technically it's my cookie. It comes from where you're working at my show. And then she was quite comfortable hitting me in the arm pretty hard. And I thought, I like this.
But you must come across people who aren't that comfortable, who don't know. It's like, who are a little bit shy or embarrassed at the.
I fire them.
Okay, good.
They're very talented people.
Yes, sure.
Who don't like roughhousing and having food knocked out of their hand. And I mean, talented, beautiful, lovely people. And that's just not their particular thing. And I immediately fire them, and then I blackball them in the industry.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
So like a Gandhi or a Maya Angelou, like beautiful, creative spirits.
They wouldn't be allowed.
I would just say, I think it's really funny that Gandhi, that I knocked that cookie out of your hand. And Gandhi would say, it's my 5th hunger strike. I really was counting on that cookie. I didn't find it that amusing, and I'd say, Gandhi, you're out, and you're never working in this business again.
And he never did.
Yeah,
so that's great.
He had to do that whole other thing he did. God knows how that worked out.
Which was fine.
Yeah, it was
It's
fine.
fine. It's fine. It's not show business, but it's fine. Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan is brought to you by Prime Video, presenting Mr. and Mrs. Smith, starring Donald Glover, the great Donald Glover, and Maya Erskine, also the great. About two lonely strangers, John and Jane, who have given up their lives and their identities to be thrown together as partners, both in espionage and marriage. And isn't that what all marriages are? The Daily Beast calls it a thrilling reimagining, and The Guardian says Maya Erskine brings the kind of unshowy strength to the part that complements perfectly Donald Glover's light-footed grace and charisma. Mr. and Mrs. Smith is Emmy eligible and available for TV Academy members at consideramazon.com.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
You were probably aware when we were at the Simpsons together, and then it's something that happens in the business. There are overpitchers.
Yes.
And so you'll be in a room, and it's a very delicate group environment if you're trying to come up with, okay, Homer just told Marge that he spent all of Bart's college money on a donut machine. And what's Marge's reaction? And there's this delicate balance in the room of, it's good when some people say, pitch some things.
Right. You can spur an idea, even if it's not the thing, sometimes it spurs a good idea for something else.
Yes. or sometimes it is the right idea.
Right.
And then there are people who it's the equivalent of, sometimes halfway through a basketball game, they'll say for charity, we're going to give someone 75 baskets,
Right.
and they're going to stand at half court and see if they can get one in, and then $10,000 goes to this charity. And literally they're just hurling up shot after shot after shot. Half of them are going into the stands or banging, clanging, banging, and they're just hurling them. And I've seen that in comedy over the years.
Yes.
Where you'll say, what does Marge say? Oh, homie, you shouldn't have. Oh, homie, what a bad idea. Oh, homie, donuts, we don't need that. Oh, homie, this reminds me of the time. Oh, homie. And you want to turn around and go, shut the fuck up. I can't hear myself think.
Because that is something we learned in improv. There's a game called New Choice. There's something that's a skill that's developed after a while, and something that's really good in writing when you're writing your own thing. And you think, I need this, it's not right, how about this, how about that? But you don't say it out loud in a writer's room, because in the writer's room, you're just going to make everyone want to murder you.
I'm glad you brought up improv, because we both really improv's a big part of our background for both of us. That I had a great improv teacher, Cynthia Seghetti, years before I met you, who I just thought I was killing it in this class. And I just thought, man, I'm the fastest gun in the West. I keep saying funny thing after funny thing after funny thing. And after one class, she said, can I talk to you for a second? And I thought, she's going to give me
a medal,
a gold medal.
An award, a wreath.
It's a gold medal.
Yeah.
And here
How often, by the way, when somebody says, can I see you a second after the thing?
It never goes well.
It's never good. It's very rarely like, oh, I just want to say you're great.
Well, she said, don't think so much up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she said, you do have a fast mind. Don't think so much.
Yeah.
And let things breathe. Oh. And
this is still my problem.
And I thought, oh my God, that's fantastic. The other, can I see you a minute, was Robin Schiff, who's a brilliant writer and improviser, who was my teacher at the Groundlings. And I remembered thinking I was killing with her. Mm-hmm. And then she said, can I see you for a minute? And she actually had to go get gas in her car. So I got in her car and I'm like, man, this is, she's going to say, have you thought of maybe skipping classes at the Groundlings and maybe
go to stardom.
Maybe you should just run the Groundlings, even though you're only 23.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I thought, like, wow, this is going to be great. And she said, have you thought about therapy?
She was right, by the way.
No, she was right. I've had a ton of therapy, but. So to your point, a lot of my "Can I talk to you for a second" have often led not to me getting a medal, or $100,000. But yeah, I think improvisation, learning to feel what's going on in the room and go with it, and it's the same thing in life and conversation. I don't want to be chattering teeth that you wind up and it's just yeah. I don't want to be that, and I think it really helped me over the years as a host. My job was to listen to the other person, and make sure that they have a great appearance.
You listen very well. You listen on your podcast. You listen on the show. You've been listening for a long time. I see it in the Conan O'Brien Must Go. You're taking in the situation.
And then deal the hand that you've been dealt. Yeah. And don't be, if you find yourself listening and thinking of what's the joke I can come in with.
Yes.
It's not going to be good.
Because things are moving. You thought of a joke there, and it's even a split second behind time.
Isn't that magical that if something occurs to you in the second and you say it, I want to say 9 times out of 10, it's funny and it's good. If it occurs to you and you don't say it, but then 20 seconds later you say it,
too late.
It doesn't work.
It's too late.
And
I know.
I swear to God, it makes me think.
I have a little funeral for those jokes, because those jokes, it's still a great joke, but it's like it didn't get its time and place.
A lot of things have to meet the moment, and that's about, to your point of, yes, you and I have similar energies.
How come you're so much more successful than me? What is that about? If we have the same energy, we both have podcasts. I looked online, you have just under 9 million subscribers.
Yes.
I have 14.
My father is the son of Louis B. Mayer.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're Nepo baby.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm the biggest Nepo baby.
Okay.
And
I did not know.
My mother's
Right.
maiden name was Hollywood.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes,
so
she's Ruth R. Hollywood.
You were born
and
into
they
the
are
Hollywood.
of the Hollywoods.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And so between them,
Yeah.
I pretty much
you'd be-
own this town.
Think you'd be more Jewish, honestly, if your mother was Hollywood. I don't know.
O'Brien is a stage name.
Okay, very good.
Because I thought there's
Yeah.
no way the Jews can make it in show business.
Yes, that's right.
So I changed my name to O'Brien.
Smart
Yeah.
at the time.
And so I
Right.
was, no one told me.
Yeah. I've noticed, because I listen to your podcast to try and figure out how I do my podcast. And one of the things that you do on your podcast is that you have sponsors.
Yes.
And you do commercials for the sponsors.
Yeah.
I'm sure you use and enjoy every one of your sponsors' products.
Every single product.
Right. I'm sure
we
that
mentioned,
you do.
Yeah.
Is something that you endorse personally.
We just endorsed, there's a new attack helicopter
I did not know that.
the Marines
Right.
have made, and it's called the Death Scorpion.
Right.
And so I've used it.
Yeah,
I've just,
Right.
it's so funny because when the idea of doing a podcast came up, I remembered someone saying, well, this may be a deal breaker for you because I don't really usually do ads. I'm not someone that's out there saying, you got to use a new City One card or whatever. They said, this will be a deal breaker for you. And I said, well, let me see them. And I started reading the ads and it's just fun. I'm sure you're the same, but when I was a kid, I used to pretend to do TV shows, pretend to do radio shows back then we had tape recorders, little Panasonic tape recorders with a cassette tape. And my favorite thing in the world, I mean, I have home movies of me going, so let me ask you something, I
have tape recordings.
Yeah, and it's just, all right, well, back here with the news. Now, here's a word from...
I didn't have tape recordings of me talking like a 1930s actor. That's what you do.
I'm older than you think. I was doing them in the 30s with a reel-to-reel.
You're older than I am. It's true. By
true.
By 8 days or something like that.
8 days, I believe. And so I had the experience of reading the ads and just thinking, if they'll let me do it. So we'll do an ad for a product, and I don't want to offend anyone.
I have a copy of an ad here if you want to do one.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Then you can show me how it works. This is an ad for the product is my show.
Oh, for your show?
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be hard to do.
No,
because I like you and I like your show.
But do
I'll do it. But I'll tell you first what I would do is, let's say it was for Remington Tires.
Right.
A tire company. I say to Sona, what is the fascination in my life? And Sona will go like, tires. Because she's got the piece of paper too, and I go, exactly, Sona. And what's the tire I'm always talking about? And she's like, you're always talking about Remington. And I'm like, it's gotta be Remington or I'll kill you.
Right.
And so I realized if I do that, no one says boo.
Right.
They don't say we're not paying for this.
Right.
And it's absolutely absurd.
Right, but it's hysterical.
And so
I enjoy them a lot.
Well, it's just, but I'm thinking as long as you don't make me lose my personality.
Right. Now you can shit on my show. I'm happy to whatever version of it you want.
Now, of course, I'm aware I, Conan O'Brien, have a podcast empire.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess I said, when you're staring down the barrel of excellence, I mean, you know I'm a fan of excellence, right?
Excellence is the thing that you like most.
Yes. And I've always said when we worked together on The Simpsons, I demand excellence. Remember that?
Yes.
And,
you screamed it.
And the guys who ran the room, Reese and Gene, Mike Reese and Al Gene, used to say, mediocrity's fine.
Right.
And I remember
they hated excellence.
I used to stand and say, I won't have it. It's excellence or it's nothing.
Right.
It's The Simpsons.
Right. I remember that.
I like excellence. And that's why when I want a podcast, I turn to Jay Kogan.
Wow.
I turn to Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan.
That's surprising.
Because there's a lot of podcasts out there, and some are, I'm told, quite good.
You have your own podcast.
Solid C+. I like Jay Kogan's because it's probing questions, incisive analysis, and the single greatest wit the world has ever produced.
Yeah.
And Jay, you are Jay Kogan.
That's true.
You have to admit that everything I just said is true.
I mean, I wrote it, so absolutely I believe it.
I can see it's in your hand. It's written in crayon, very large font.
We don't have to.
No, but what I'm telling you is that I don't have time for any other podcast.
Right.
They sicken me.
No.
And sometimes I'll hear about an amazing podcast by two incredible historians.
Right.
And it's fantastic, and they're going to explain Martin Luther and the Reformation. Right. I listen to 3 seconds.
New things,
read 3 seconds, and I cone vomit.
Right.
I can't do it. It's got to be
Right.
Don't Be Alone with
Wow.
Jay Kogan, or it's nothing for me.
I agree.
Nothing, I tell you.
Okay, that's good. That's great.
Too much?
So, no, it's never too much. It's fine. I appreciate that. I'm going to. What I wrote was even worse than that, but that's good. That's delightful. And we're gonna move on to something. There's question time, which we're gonna ask some
Is
questions.
there a nap time at some
There's
point?
there's an nap time.
And then is there a juice time?
This is question time. Let's hear the theme.
It's question time.
Wow, you got Queen.
Yeah,
to
we did.
record.
We did.
That's the last thing Freddie Mercury did.
I
before
know.
he left this earth.
I appreciated what he did,
Yeah,
and
he knew one
struggled.
day you would have
Exactly.
a podcast.
No, that's Charlie Kogan. All my
That's
themes
great.
are Charlie Kogan. So the question, this question's from The Art of Water, who says, I am watching a show right now. It's so good. I would like to ask him, what's a place outside the United States that he could see himself living and why?
It might be a place I haven't been to yet, but I'm kind of fascinated by those Nordic countries, Netherlands, Sweden. I don't know, there's something, I think because of my genetic composition, I want to go somewhere where I might actually be considered having a healthy complexion.
Okay.
So that means going way, way north.
Sure. You looked amongst the people back in Norway. You looked
Sure.
like them. Yeah,
Oh
so-
yeah, no, I
Yeah. When
look
you-
like Desi Arnaz up there.
You
And
made
so-
I
I look like
made a convincing Viking.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think I would want to be in a very old city, so I could see living in like an Oslo. I've always wanted to live in another city that's quite different from the United States, with an old culture for like a year.
Yeah, me too.
I'd like to do that.
We're never going to.
No. Everyone says this.
Right. I would love to live in, name the city, Barcelona for a year.
Yeah.
Never going to happen.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Catalina Island,
Exactly.
right off
Right.
California. I did it. I changed my life completely. Where did you go? I went from Brentwood to the Palisades. Yeah, I'm going to say
Old Northern City.
it doesn't even have to be a northern city, but like Vienna, could be really fascinating. Live in some city where all the architecture is from the 1300s, the 1400s, and you're walking around and getting a coffee and just people watching.
Right.
And I don't know. And I'd like it to be cold. I know that sounds weird.
No,
but
it's going to be cold in any of those cities that you just described. It's absolutely cold.
I'd like it to be cold. I know it sounds crazy. I live in Los Angeles, but I prefer cold weather.
Right. Here's one last question for question time from Denise and Karma, who I believe are super fans of The Simpsons.
Oh, cool.
But they're not asking a Simpsons question. They're asking a you question. How did his marriage make it through the ups and downs of his career? Remember that scene in Conan O'Brien Can't Stop?
Yeah. Well, I think it's not I think the correct way to put that question is, how could I have done any of it
Without her?
Without Liza?
Exactly.
Because she has always been, I'm a boat with a really deep, deep keel. Just a really deep keel. And she just she's very good at saying, hold on, what are we talking about here? Because my highs are very high and my lows are very low.
Right.
And she's very good at right sizing all of it.
That's
and
great.
So I think, there's that scene in the documentary where I'm doing the tour and I'm just saying, I'm rushing around doing everything everybody wants me to do. And in my mind, it's because people are making me. And I'm saying, why does everybody want me to sign all these things? Why does everybody want me to do all this stuff? And she said, there is no everybody.
Right.
It's you.
Yeah.
And the word smart is so misused because sometimes someone can describe one as smart, and then you can go and watch that, meaning they're well read,
Right.
They've had a good education.
Right. But their life is a mess.
But they're doing the stupidest things or saying the stupidest things, and in that moment, I honestly can't see the forest for the trees,
Right.
and I need Liza to say, there is no everybody. There's just you.
True, but this is your instinct. You're very nice. You always have been a very nice person. You take a lot of responsibility onto yourself. And for years have told you to stop doing that. Like, honestly, like it's not, you don't owe the world everything.
Some things are complicated. Some things are, you're right. There are getting better at, love my mom, but she did teach me that if someone wants something from you, I mean a complete stranger, you should do your best to make that happen.
Right.
And the problem is, if you get to a certain situation in life where a lot of people know who you are.
Right. There are a lot of strangers asking for a lot of things.
Yeah. And I remembered, very clearly my mother calling me up. This is in the late 90s, and the late night show's going really well. And I do one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know, it's all the time. And she called me up and she said, I just got a call from the Brookline Public Library and they want you to come and host a benefit there Wednesday night, which, is right on the Boston line. And I said, Mom, I'm here in New York and we do a show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So there's no way I can go do it.
Right.
And she said, what are we going to tell them? Like, there's no answer to this puzzle. Now, my mom, a very smart woman, a partner in a law firm, she didn't know because she had been trained when people are, you have to do it.
Right.
And I said, no, what you're going to do is tell them.
Sure.
He can't do it.
Right.
Oh, no. It was a revelation.
I understand. Those kind of habits are hard to give up, but you are hopefully getting better at figuring out what's important. And
we're always working on stuff. I
mean, clearly not getting that much better. You're here.
No, exactly.
So, like, it's not perfectly better. You didn't wake up one day and say, I want to come down to this fucking thing and do this thing. No. This is clearly a stupid favor. So I'm trading on what I know about you and pulling you in.
And the candied ham out the window really got my attention. I saw it. I had to have a chomp, and then you reeled me in.
Yeah, I got it.
Like a marlin.
Sure. I got it, and that's fine. Now we're going to go to the viewer mail.
Now it's time for Listener Mail.
So, okay, this is a question from Maynard, and it was not intended for you, but I'm going to fashion it for you.
Sure.
So, if you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be, and what meal would you want to share with them? And now I will add, I'm going to exclude presidents of the United States.
Good. Who needs that?
Right.
Wow. Any person, living or dead.
Right. Well, first of all, would you want to eat with somebody dead?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because you could really blow their mind.
Right, exactly, right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I've always had this fantasy, and it won't be Lincoln, but if people always say things are so terrible in the country right now, and if Lincoln could come back to life, what would he say? And people imagine he'd say, all right, well, this is, please, and he'd speak to the American people and unify us.
Right.
But I think you'd never get him out of the hotel.
Right.
He'd be like, this, what is
this
it?
Machine.
There's porn.
Right,
That's
exactly.
Look at those two go at it.
Right.
And this pizza's amazing.
Right.
And
the environment is cool. How is that happening?
Yeah, exactly. They would never. Anyway, we got to address. You're about to speak to both houses of Congress.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
Yes.
I'm on season 4 of Game of Thrones.
I can't. I just cut myself. I'm about to die. Oh no, they're antibiotics. They're what?
You know what? I do want to talk to Shakespeare and say, come on, you didn't write all that.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
And really be a bully about
That's
it.
because you're a Harvard elitist.
Yeah, no, but there's no way. There's too many people that say there's no way one guy wrote all of that. And what I'd want to do is meet him at a sushi restaurant.
Right.
Because he'd keep saying, I don't understand, forsooth, look, behold us, there's raw fish. And it would be a great sushi restaurant.
Fantastic, yes. Nobu or something.
Yeah, and I'd want there someplace where there's also karaoke.
Okay.
And so I would just want to badger him. It's a loud environment.
Sure.
He has to eat foods that would never have been available or considered palatable in his lifetime. Right. And so he'd be upset and rattled.
Right.
Plus the karaoke, and then add on top of all that, me just hammering him. Oh, so wait, so you wrote the comedies and you wrote Lear and Macbeth? I don't think so.
Not the same guy.
Yeah, come on.
Isn't it amazing to me that people are so obsessed with that it couldn't be one guy? Like, we know writers who are really talented, who could do...
but Shakespeare? Come on.
I'm telling you.
It's there's way too many...
We don't know who helped him.
Bring this up with Liza because she's smart enough and has read enough to understand that people really who've drilled down into it just don't see how it could happen.
I understand.
This guy doesn't have that kind of education.
know
He
what
comes from nowhere.
His rewrite room was like, we don't know who he showed the plays to.
That's true. He had a good, he always got a polish.
Yeah, exactly.
He took it. Some people at Paramount always gave his stuff a polish.
Sure, we don't know.
A good polish.
I think it's possible that one guy did all this.
It's also possible that he had a very early crude version of AI.
Yeah.
Steam powered.
Sure, exactly.
Like you let it come to a boil and
the straw would burn and the writing would show
Always
up.
One of my favorite Simpsons jokes was Mr. Burns with his, that old adage of if you have a room with a million monkeys,
right.
they'll
write Shakespeare.
They'll write Shakespeare, or they'll write a great work of art. And I just love him showing Homer around and walking into that room, and he rips it out of the table. He goes, "It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times, idiot!"
Screams at the monkey.
He screams at the monkey.
It's a great joke.
One of my favorite things with Simpsons writers is we're no better than Simpsons fans. I will think of my favorite Simpsons jokes, and when I'm around Simpsons writers, and say, "Oh my God." Remember who and I often can't remember. A lot of us can't remember who wrote what, but oh my God, we just howl thinking
really,
about those
really
jokes.
funny. They made us laugh so hard, and it was one of the great moments in life when the stuff that was making us laugh was making other people laugh.
Yes,
that's very rare.
When Mr. Burns has a birthday and it's this elaborate, over-the-top birthday party, and they got the Ramones to come on and sing "Happy Birthday" in the Ramones style to Mr. Burns. And then Joey drops the mic and says, "Happy birthday, you old bastard," or something. And clearly Mr. Burns is not pleased, so he says to Smithers, "Have the Rolling Stones killed." And he says, "Sir, that's not the..." And he goes, "Do it!" And Smithers leaves, and I've always pictured somewhere the Rolling Stones,
an assassin,
are like having dinner in Rio, about to do a show, and they're killed because this old billionaire misidentified them.
That's how it happens.
Oh, listen to me. Go on.
This last thing that I'll ask is something we have. It's called the moment of joy.
A moment of joy.
Tell me something that just in a everyday part of your life, or not every day, but what gives you joy? If you had to figure out something that's going to brighten your day, if you're a little down, what would you do?
One of the things that gives me profound joy almost every day is we have a bit of a ritual at our house where my son is a hard worker and he's very smart, and he's smart in ways that where I have no ability at all. He's very good at computer engineering and electrical engineering. He's really interested in all that, in science, and
he seems like a good kid.
He's a really good guy, and so, but also he's not like us. He's very quiet, but he's very funny and appreciates really funny stuff. And so we have a ritual where when he wants to take a break and he's been working and it's getting later in the night, before he turns in, he comes down and we'll watch a really good, solid half-hour comedy that makes him happy. Lately, we've been watching Tim Robinson. I think you should leave. And we'll watch something, and when there's a really good, or we'll watch Simpsons, when something's really good, I see him laugh so hard, and it's just that pure hit, and I'm laughing hard too. And I think I time travel a little bit to, I used to watch Carson with my dad.
Right.
And every now and then, my dad loved it when he did Karnak, and I would see my dad laugh, and I'd be laughing, and Carson would rip open the envelope and go, "Mount Baldy,
right?
Mount Baldy, Mount Baldy. What did Mrs. Brenner do on her wedding night?" And my dad would be, even though it's dirty, would be howling and hugging himself in this weird way that he had, and rocking back and forth. And so that's a pure moment of joy for me, is watching my son really laugh when there's a great, absurd,
that sounds beautiful,
joke that has a lot of intelligence in it.
Conan, thank you for being here. This is great.
Jay, I say this in all sincerity. You and I are friends. I've known you forever. The first day I met you, you were, 3 lifetimes ago, you were very nice to me. And this was a fun thing to do.
I'm glad.
So thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to this for a while.
I'm glad that I traveled the 2.5 blocks.
You could have walked here. You could have walked here.
And now I look forward to my compensation.
Oh, you will. The swag is in the mail.
I have a large suitcase here.
All right.
I can't wait to see you fill it with cold hard cash.
Yeah, I believe. Dave, we already sent the money over, didn't we? Yeah, I always sent.
Oh, has the money been sent over, David?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
David's weird denominations too. I don't know why you asked.
I'd suddenly look over and David's wearing a cravat and a yachting cap.
Right,
David.
exactly.
I think you spent that.
That's fantastic.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, and I got to thank my audience for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
they're all
David.
over. They're on every camera.
Oh, hey,
exactly.
hey, everybody! Thanks for listening. Sorry, I'm not wearing makeup. It's so horrific.
Please write into dbawjk@gmail.com if you have any comments or suggestions.
That just really rolls off the tongue. Or send a letter.
Yeah, send a letter. You like real letters.
I love letters.
I know that about you.
Send it through the post.
I've never sent you a real letter.
A mailman will bring it.
Or
a mailwoman.
If you ever get a posted letter from me, it will be for asking for money. If you see that,
I will give it to you.
Right, okay, I'm just saying, be aware. Anyway, thank you for listening. Please don't be alone. Go out and share some time with somebody else. That's the reason I do this.
Oh, don't be alone.
So that people communicate with each other.
I was with more people when you called me over here.
Is that right?
Yeah, so I don't understand. You defeated the whole purpose of this.
I was
with 30 people and just filled with just joy and connection when you dragged me over here across the street from a Winchell's Donuts.
Maybe your happiness isn't as important as mine. That's what I said.
This is all about you.
Exactly.
Don't be alone.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Don't be alone.